Good morning, students, or afternoon, depending on when you got up. Shout out from Mr. Rosa and
Mr. Wilson.
Today is our first day of actual videoing the math lessons because we're moving forward. If you remember, we ended with Unit 7. Haven't taken the test yet, but we'll worry about that later. So we're going to start Unit 8. So here are the notes for 8-1. We're going to learn about dot plots today. So they're fairly simple. It's just a graphical display of data using dots. So think of a number line with dots above it, all right? It's going to show frequency. In other words, it shows how often each value in a set of data occurs. Here's an example. If, let's say, we had a few students, we want to know how many of these dots represent the students. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 students. We asked them how many letters were in their last name. One student had a simple last name, had 2 letters. One student had 3 letters, and so forth. How many students, Mr. Wilson, had 5 letters in their last name?
1, 2, 3, 4 students had 5 letters in their last name.
All right, so just remember the dots are the students. This shows the number of letters. All right, so in your packet that hopefully you picked up last week, go to 8-1. We're going to work on homework. I'm going to give you the rundown on the homework side and a little bit of clues for your remembering side. We good?
Good.
Okay, so this one's I'm going to go fairly fast. Today our goal is we're going to recognize that numerical data involves variability. So these are the students and these are the number each of siblings. Remember, brothers or sisters each student has. And we're going to learn how to read and analyze dot plots, and we're going to have fun with math. So, moving on. What does each dot in the plot represent? Mr. Wilson, what does each dot in the plot represent?
Number of siblings.
Number of siblings. So right here, you'll write number of siblings. All right. Number 2, does the dot plot correctly display the data in the table? So now I'm going to show you how you find that. So you're going to look here. It says 2 students have 0 siblings. So if we want to see if it correctly displays that, are there 2? Gabe and Eureka, I believe, have 0 siblings. Let's just pick another one. 2 students have 1, 2, 3, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4 students have 2 siblings. So let's look. Maria has 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say
a good way to do that is you can mark them off as you go through. One-to-one correspondence.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's correct. That one was correct. You just check each one. My hint is, it is yes. The dot plot correctly displays because I went to the table and one-to-one corresponded and made sure it was all correct.
That's a good hint, Mr. Rosa.
Thank you for the help, Mr. Wilson. Number 3. Which dot plot in the plot represents Ariana? So we're going to find Ariana, which is right here. How many siblings, Mr. Wilson?
4.
So we're going to say, for our answer, the 1 dot above the number 4 represents Ariana because she has 4 siblings. It's pretty simple. All right, moving on to the remembering side. Now remember, this is all review, so I just gave you a few hints. Mr. Wilson, can they see that clearly? Okay, so for number 1, step 1, you're going to find the volume. Step 2, you're going to multiply it by the percentage because it's not 100% filled, it's only, 75% filled. So your answer needs to be less than number 1. Remember, 75% is not a whole. It's just a part of a whole. So you're probably better off using a decimal when you multiply. Solving equations. So remember, when we're doing this, we need to keep this variable on one side of the equal sign and move the other number over, all right? So this operation is multiplication. Mr. Wilson, how do we undo multiplication?
Division.
Division. So we're going to divide out the 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Now, I already gave you the hint, keep in fraction form. I did this, so your step is to simplify that, and that will be your answer. On this one, you're going to have to subtract to get that answer.
Remember, inverse operations.
Inverse.
If it's adding, you need to subtract.
Perfect. On this one, it looks like division. What's the inverse of division?
Multiplication.
Awesome. And this one, you're on your own. All right, we've been working on percents, part to whole, set up your proportions. 8, this one's probably actually a little bit trickier than the stretch you're thinking, but we are able to do it. Step 1, you're gonna find your perimeter. Remember, it's not just length plus width. There's 2 lengths, 2 widths. Multiply it by 5 because she wraps it around 5 times. Oh, but we're working in inches. We wanna know if 6 yards is enough, so we need to convert. 6 yards to inches would be the easiest. Hint, 36 inches per yard. Now compare whatever answer you got in number 2 with what you got in number 3 and tell me, does she have enough fabric or not? Step 9, if you drew a number line, right, and she had 12 dots all on the exact same day, what is that gonna look like? I'll leave it to your imagination to explain. Don't make it hard. Anyways, that wraps up the lesson for 8-1. Have fun, students. Let us know if you have questions.
Bye.